Here in Kwashangi, scores of families have been forced to flee their homes. Your neighbor is either for you or against you.
Every time it's got a war, war, war. Daytime, nighttime. You have no peace now.
Lefina Shange, at 65, has tired of the violence that marks the relationship between the ANC and Inkatha. Her only hope, if she's to die, is that it should be quick.
If it's a nighttime, I'm so scared that why. It's just shoot you and burn your house. And then you can burn yourself, you can be anything. Better if I'm run away outside. It can just shoot me, not burn me.
In Kwashangi, intimidation has become a fact of life. The prospects for free and fair elections here in 2 months' time are not good. These homes were once occupied by Inkatha supporters. They're now abandoned. Revenge attacks and killings have become commonplace.
The IFP came as thousands, and then they burnt all these houses in this supermarket, and then people fled this area.
Why did they attack the supermarket?
They believe this supermarket belonged to the ANC supporters.
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
Both sides are well armed and are training self-defense units or hit squads. The culture of the gun dominates.
What is it that you carry?
Yeah, it's a CZ-83 9mm shot.
And have you got a license for that?
I got a license for it.
But are you prepared to use it if you have to defend yourself?
Yes.
Nelson Mandela faces a double challenge. First, he must convince Mangosuthu Buthelezi that it's in the interests of Inkatha to contest April's elections. Beyond that, he and Buthelezi must convince their supporters that there is simply nothing to be gained from intimidation and violence. The price of failure, especially in villages as divided as this, would be to deny Zulus in Natal the one thing they've fought for so long, the right to vote. The two leaders last met 8 months ago. Since then, Buthelezi has rejected South Africa's new constitution, and Inkatha have decided to boycott April's elections. Mandela suggested today's summit in the hope of bringing an end to the bloodshed.
For that reason, I will use the rest of my life for the purpose of addressing this question and persuading people to refrain from doing anything which will bring about suffering in our country.
Buthelezi is demanding stronger powers for the regions like KwaZulu-Natal to protect the rights of minorities. But the ANC say he's more concerned to avoid a crushing defeat at the polls and is using the popularity of Zulu King Goodwill Zwelithini, his nephew, to protect Inkatha. Radical ANC members insist Mandela should make no further concessions.
I am warning them that concessions can pass beyond their point, and instead of being compromises, become appeasement.
We believe that we are condemning this country to eternal conflict if you cannot accommodate a substantial number of the country's inhabitants.
Securing democracy in South Africa has been a painful business. Mandela and Buthelezi will decide how many more people must die before the liberation of blacks becomes a reality. John Harrison, BBC News, Durban.
Well, the whole Middle East peace process.
Had our back.
Welcome to Make Your Mark. What a super audience.
Voting is fun is the message. You could even win a telly.
That's a great TV. Under which law was Joe Slovo banned in 1954? Was it the Suppression of Communism Act? Was it the Pass Law Act, or was it the Mixed Marriages Act?
The first one.
The first one. It was the Suppression of Communism Act.
Suddenly, the years of apartheid have been reduced to a quiz game question, a sign of progress, perhaps. So far, 500 hours of airtime have been dedicated to helping the country loosen its grip on the past and accept the new political rules.
Remember that by putting your pen to paper, you too can be part of history. Thanks for joining us, and peace in our land.
There is one way you can bring democracy to South Africa at no personal risk to yourself, by playing the country's latest aptly named board game, Democracy. The references are pretty thinly veiled. There's a right-wing leader called Tilman Teya Blanche, or Solomon Zulu of Inkatha Freedom Party. The object of the game is to win the election by fair means or foul. You can hire an assassin, price £1,000, or if you're very unlucky, you'll get caught in a right-wing race riot in Ventersdorp. All characters in the area without bodyguards must roll 4 or 6 to avoid being killed. On the Platterland, the real-life game is being played out in deadly earnest. The right-wing drums of war are beating. This is Witbank, just one of 120 towns across the country whose white councils have turned their backs on the future by voting to join a Volksstaat or white homeland. Eugene Terreblanche's message, delivered night after night, urges whites to flee to the promised homeland before the election covers South Africa in blood and darkness. The audience is invariably mesmerized by this former actor-poet turned demagogue. Tonight he announces that he has 60,000 soldiers of God under his command. Afterwards he told us that he and his people would stop the election taking place.
There will not be election, I think so. And if there will be election, the government and the ANC will be responsible for what will happen on that day.
You tried to stop other people from voting?
Yes, I did it tonight. Why not? Try to stop them. I command them not to vote. It's not necessary to try. You think these people want to vote? These people want to fight, my good friend.
Also registered.
After weeks of brinkmanship and threats of boycotts, Inkatha party leaders finally signed up for the elections tonight. It was just hours before the deadline and came with conditions, the most important, international mediation on Zulu demands for regional autonomy.
All the negotiations, have flopped, have come to naught. So therefore, the very first thing that should be done is mediation.
ANC President Nelson Mandela, out campaigning today, has agreed to the demands and says the United Nations are the people to mediate.
The United Nations is there to promote peace.
But President de Klerk, also on the campaign trail, insists there's no prospect of the election being delayed. Inkatha's 11th hour decision to register here tonight offers a glimmer of hope for South Africa. Hope for an election threatened by widespread intimidation and violence. The violence between ANC and Inkatha supporters has escalated in recent months, particularly in Natal, home to the Zulus, where scores of people are killed each week. These are rare pictures of the Zulu paramilitary forces training for war. The fight, says Inkatha, to defend a Zulu state from the ANC's military wing, Umkhonto we Sizwe.
There's no room for the kind of undisciplined, thuggish actions of the ANC self-defense units and of Umkhonto we Sizwe. These people's job is to stop Umkhonto we Sizwe in their tracks.
The white right-wing extremists took to the streets of a Transvaal town to push their demands for a whites-only state in the new South Africa. Mark Austin, News at 10, Johannesburg.